Welcome to Local Book Sourcing Bonus Class. So in this class, I'm going to show you how to find books in your local area that you can list on Amazon, just like it's very, very similar to the textbook model, except instead of specializing in one certain book like a textbook, then you're looking for multiple different types of books. And we're going to go over here exactly what you're looking for. Again, it's very similar, but there are a few differences. And I want to just go over a quick refresher here. These are things that I've covered in the textbook arbitrage class that are going to apply to you here as well, okay? So as far as what types of books to look for, still paperback and hardcover, the same. If I were to take a look at all the books I've sold over the last year, I'd say 50% are hardcover and 50% are paperback, all right? So just because it's a hardcover edition doesn't mean it's going to sell more than a paperback. It really just depends on the numbers. It really depends on supply and demand. Okay? This is the offline to FBA arbitrage. You know, I spoke about the different types of arbitrages. I think it was in the last class, but this is the one that's offline to FBA. So just for a refresher here, what this means is that you source your books from local sources, and then you list your books on Amazon as FBA, and you match the lowest FBA price, and then you ship your books to Amazon. So it's a very simple model, very, very similar to what I've been teaching before, except this time you're just sourcing books locally. The other big benefit of this is that normally the books are going to be extremely low cost. I'm talking like I generally get my books for less than $2 and usually even less than that each. Okay, so my biggest source right now locally, I get the books for either $1 or $1.50. Okay, so sourcing, and I'm going to cover this in more detail down here, but I source from thrift stores, libraries, used bookstores, estate sales, library sales, and Craigslist. And I'll be going into each one of these specifically down in the sourcing section. Okay, and here is a rule of thumb. This example is from the last class I did, so we could look this one up. I can't remember now what it was, but you can look that up on your own. Rule of thumb: bestseller rank of less than 500,000, less than 500,000. With textbooks, we're going for 350,000 or under, just because with textbooks we've got a limited window, or more of a limited window. You know, we're trying to hit that sweet spot during the textbook season, and so we really want to concentrate on books that have a bestseller rank that's really, 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 really good. You know, bestseller rank where that book is selling at least one copy every single day. All right, with books in general that we're going to be sourcing locally, then we're not so strict on that, because these books, you know, they'll sell, even though they might not sell one book a day of this particular book, then it might sell 3 months from now. And because we're only paying $1 or $2 for the books, then we can afford to have it in the inventory for longer. It's not really going to hurt us. This book model is really the model where you want to source books and send in books at least every week. I try to send in a big box of books to Amazon every single week. And that way I get immediate sales as soon as those books hit the warehouse, and then I get gradual sales, especially for the ones that are ranked, you know, at the 500,000 range. Then these books, some of these books might sell next month or the month after that. All right, so that's kind of the difference here. Bestseller rank of 500,000. And then once you get some experience under your belt, and we're going to cover this in more of an advanced class later on, but once you get some experience under your belt, then you can go out to about 1.5 million in bestseller rank, and really, you know, start looking for books that are much more obscure, but can bring a really high dollar when they do sell. All right, but you really, initially, especially when you're starting out, you need to get some sales under your belt first, okay? Generally, I buy for less than $2, and my sale price, I want to see at least $10 sale price. Otherwise, it's not worth the effort. You know, it's not worth the effort to buy the book and then list it on Amazon, even though listing is easy, and then packing it up and shipping it. Unless it's worth at least $10 or will sell for at least $10, then it's not worth it to me. So that's sort of my parameters. And I'll go outside of these parameters sometimes too, and I'll explain those when I get into sourcing. Okay, so the categories that I look at, and this is, again, we talked about this last week or Sunday, I think. There's a couple I've added here. So nonfiction, let me squeeze those down, make it a little easier to see. Okay, under nonfiction, pretty much the same things. Still looking for college textbooks. You know, I've got a big box in here right now I just sourced last week. I'm saving it because I want to use the ones I've got now, I want to use them for our listing session on Friday so that I have some books to list so I can show you what I'm doing and how I'm listing them. So that's coming up on this coming Friday. But in there, I've got quite a few textbooks that I've sourced locally. I've got some elementary and high school textbooks, college textbooks. And then we're also still looking for these pseudo textbooks because, again, I want to reiterate this, that even though textbook season is a huge season for selling textbooks, textbooks still sell all year round. Okay, so don't ever stop looking for them. So still yet, books related to a career, profession, or business, these are huge. Books that someone would use in their profession, they're wanting to get that book now. They're willing to pay extra through FBA to get that book now. So always be on the lookout for books. If you see a book, you kind of run it through your brain and say, could this book be used in someone's career or profession or their business, especially if it's used in their business? A good example book I sold fairly recently was Encyclopedia of Trees, and this was a like A to Z, very thick, very big book of all the trees that someone who's in the nursery business would be interested in. And I bought it at a thrift store. I paid like $2, less than $2, and it sold almost immediately for $75. That's the sort of thing that you're looking for. Women's Rights and Feminism, again, that's a good book. These are good books that sometimes college curriculum will require. Recent business books. Now, on these, the more recent, the better. Sorry, I'm in a room here where it's kind of dark, and I can't quite see the keyboard, all the letters on the keyboard, and I'm not really a touch typer, so I'm not typing very well. Okay, so the more recent, the better on business books. Military strategy or history, those are always good to look at. Race relations and equal rights, again, those are always good. Computer languages, if they're books that were written within the last 3 years, if you can tell, a lot of times you'll see a book like this. It'll have on the cover, it'll say Visual Basic 2.0 2003 or 1998. Those don't even bother looking at because they're outdated. All right, and if you can't tell by the cover, just pick it up and scan it and see. We're going to be covering scanners here in depth. Okay, we don't use scanners when we're just doing arbitrage, looking on our computers. There's no need for a scanner. But when we're outsourcing, you got to have a scanner. And there's a free one that you can use, and there's a paid one. I'll cover both of them. All right, we're also looking major historical events for people, and also this is a huge one here: books published by University Press. All right, so those are still sort of what I call the pseudo textbooks. And then other potential sellers, niche collectibles and niche price guides, very niche one-of-a-kind books. Just off the top of my head, and probably doesn't even exist, but a book on underwater basket weaving. And that's always the funny example they give for a college class, but you know, something like that would be just one-of-a-kind book. No one's ever published a book like this before and probably never will again. Then that's one that you'd look at. Now, when I say you look at it, I'm not saying that you buy it. I say that you look at it, you scan it, you do a little more deep research on it, okay? Because what we want to do at this step, when we're looking at the different types of books, we want to eliminate all the crap out there, all the stuff out there that doesn't have any value. We don't want to look at it at all. We want to walk into our source, whether it be a used bookstore, or used bookstores are great, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but a thrift store, whatever it is, you want to go to the books and you want to go through them as quickly as possible and cover as many of them as possible. And in order to do that, you've got to eliminate all the junk out there, all the worthless junk. Okay? Cookbooks and cooking, some of these can be good sellers, but most of them aren't. Okay? So if you're just starting out now and you don't know anything about cooking or cookbooks, I would say just don't even look at them, because you really have to know, you know, specific regions, very niche regions, the specific chefs, specific restaurants. Some restaurants will release their own cookbooks. Some of those can be valuable. But if you don't know cooking, I would say just stay away from it totally. There's some absolutely in cooking that just are duds. Microwave cookbooks, there's tons of those out there, and they're worthless. Compilations like Reader's Digest, things like that, worthless. Anything that's every day is it's not good. It's not going to sell. Okay, this one is also a good one, hobbies and leisure. So things that people do for hobbies. Even there's been some books on running marathons that I have sold for over $50. So those are good to look at, and you'll start to see the trends as you start to look at them. Some golf books will sell really well, and others won't. But I always look at them because you never know until you look at it. Local government style books, like example would be, like in my area, there's an airport, so managing a municipal airport, something like that. Those will tend to have a fairly high bestseller rank, but they also will command a high price when they sell. So with something like this, I would break that rule on bestseller rank and just go ahead and list it if you can see that it's sold in the last year, because generally, especially if the price is high, because these will generally command a high price. And they're generally are going to be really old books too. They don't publish these very often. Okay, and did I say hobby and leisure already? Yeah, I did, so I've got that in there twice. Okay, still just doing a refresher here on types of things that sell. All right, and in the fiction region, very few that I look at in fiction. Graphic novels, these are comic book graphic novels. If you don't know what those are, you can just go to Amazon and look them up. But they're basically just comic books that have been compiled into a sort of paperback version. I know comic books are paperback, but more of a stiff cover. Usually it'll cover several different issues of a comic book. Great example is The Walking Dead. So I think they've released 1 or 2 or maybe 3 volumes of The Walking Dead. I've got several. I actually just sold one of these yesterday. It was Doctor Strange. And, Doctor Strange just had a movie. It sold for $99 too. $99, and I paid, I think that one I paid $4 for. Video game strategy guides. Some of those will sell really well. And the classics that would be used in a college class, like, for instance, the Shakespeare play. Some of those I found can command really high prices. And again, the things that you should never sell. Never sell books with the do not sell on the cover, on the front or back. And it's usually stamped on the front or back cover. Books with uncorrected proof. International edition textbooks. Teacher's edition textbooks. Water damaged books or copied books. Or we added actually one more, which is electronic book or a PDF. Don't ever sell those, or don't ever sell them as a physical book. It's perfectly fine to sell Kindle books as long as you're selling them in the Kindle section of Amazon. Just don't try to sell them under the book section, okay? All right, and if you'll give me, hang on just a minute, I need to look for one thing here real quick. I'm going to mute myself. I'll be back in less than 2 minutes. Okay, sorry about that. I just remembered there was something else I wanted to add to this mind map, and I had to go out and find it and put it in here. All right, so let me see if this is showing on screen now. Okay, so this is a list of books that I put together that you should ignore for the most part. So let's go through this, because I think this is really, really handy, because probably 95% of the books that you're going to run into are not going to be worth enough that you can make money flipping them. So you want to eliminate as many of them as you possibly can without having to look at them and do the research, okay? So this list is going to be invaluable to you. So here is, let me just kind of go through this. Fiction books, and I mentioned before the fiction books that I look at: graphic novels, video game strategy guides, and the classic literature. Other than that, I can't think of any other fiction book that you should concentrate on. So the vast majority of fiction books are worthless. You know, all the books you see out there by the recognized authors, Stephen King and Jovanovich and Cromwell and Balducci and all those authors, just they're not worth anything. So don't even look at them. Time Life book series, for the most part, are not worth anything. The one that I know is a big exception is Civil War series. If you can find all the volumes, there's 20, I think there's 26 volumes in the Civil War series of Time Life books, then you can sell that entire series for around $200. But don't sell it on Amazon, you sell it on eBay. That's where people generally are going to look for something like that. But if you're missing even one issue of that, well, if you're missing even one of the books in that, you can probably buy that one book from Amazon and then just to complete the set. You know, I found an almost complete set at a thrift store about a month ago, and I really should have bought it because I could have got all of them except for, I think 2 books were missing, and I could have got them all for you know, $1 each. And I could have just bought the missing ones from Amazon or eBay and added them, and I could have had a complete set that I could have sold for over $200 or around $200. So that one is, you know, that one is the only one in those series that I know of. Someone pointed out to me after I said that there are some from the 1960s or before that are also worth money, but honestly, I've never run into one of those. Okay, so that's the Time Life series. That's what I know about it. Microwave cookbooks, again, it's just they're not worth anything. There's one exception. There's one book out there called Cooking for One, and that's the only book about microwave cooking I've seen that has any value. Kids' books, for the most part, are just not worth anything, exception being school textbooks, which we covered before, and graphic novels. Those comic book graphic novels, if you consider those kids' books, they're really not. But some people consider comic books kids' books. So that's why I put that there. Comic books in general, stay away from. And the big reason why is, except for graphic novels, the big reason you stay away from the comic books is because comic book collectors are absolutely insane. And they will give you bad feedback if they believe that, you know, the comic book that you listed at a very good condition is not in what they consider mint condition. They're crazy. Don't deal with them. Okay, I know this from experience. Believe me. So again, the exception are the graphic novels. You're pretty safe with those. All right, and I'm having a little computer issue here. My mouse is frozen up. I can't move it, so give me just I think my computer's just getting a little slow. Should be back here in 5 seconds. Let me make sure you can still hear me. Type in the chat and let me know if you're hearing my voice, because my computer's kind of frozen up a little bit. Okay, cool. Yeah, and there it just came back. Okay, Reader's Digest books, and you've probably seen a ton of these. They got them on all different subjects, a lot of stuff on medical subjects. They're not worth anything. Just ignore them. The Home Depot and the Lowe's repair and building manuals that, you know, show you how to build a deck or build a tree house or build a swing, those aren't worth anything. Don't even bother looking them up. Cookbook series. I think I kind of covered this in a different one, but there's a lot of different cookbook series out there. For the most part, just ignore them. They're not worth anything. Rodale. Rodale is a huge book publisher. They sell mostly through the mail, through direct mail, and they've published tons of books on health and wellness, some financial books, and a few other subjects. But anytime you see a book that has Rodale, just ignore it, because those books, they have published so many of those that there's just no value. I've never seen a one that had any value. Make money in real estate. You'll run across a lot of these. They're not worth anything. None of them are. Natural Cures by Kevin Trudeau, who is right now, he needs to be cured from being in prison because he's sitting in prison for, I'm laughing at it just because he's such a huckster, such a fraud. He's got 3 or 4 different books on natural cures. And one time, this has been a couple of years ago, one time I was in a thrift store sourcing books, and I came across, and that one thrift store had all 4 of his natural cures books. So just stay away from them. They're not worth anything. Political propaganda, like stuff from Rush Limbaugh, Michael Moore, Sean Hannity, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, anything by those guys, it's just not worth anything. Books written by celebrity, quote-unquote, experts, diet books, fitness books, parenting guides. I can't tell you how many times I have seen that parenting book by Paul Reiser. And there's actually, I think he's written a sequel to it too. Paul Reiser, I can't remember the name of it, but you know Paul Reiser from the TV show Mad About You? He wrote a couple of books on parenting, and I see those things literally every single thrift store you go to, you're going to find at least one of those things. Don't bother. They're not worth anything. Travel books. Most of the common travel books you see are not worth anything. Exception would be, the only exception I've found is when it's a book about traveling, but it's about traveling in order to enjoy a specific hobby. Like, for instance, traveling to Colorado for rock climbers. Something like that, it's worth looking at. I've seen a few of those that have had value. But just your plain old travel books, unless it's one that's just been released, it's brand new, then it might have some value. But if it's even a year old, then it is obsolete. Dated books. I don't mean dating books. I mean books that have an actual date on them. So if you find a book that has like Best Hotels of 2011, it's not worth anything. 2012, 3-star restaurants, it's not worth anything. The exceptions might be current or prior year. If you find Best Hotels of 2016 or maybe 2015, then it might be worth something. It's worth looking up. But if it's not the prior year or the current year, then forget about it. Prior year, current year, or the next year, there's probably things coming out now that have the year 2017. They would be worth looking at. Price guides, for the most part, I'll look at, especially comic book price guides. I think with comic book price guides, I think that the comic book collectors will buy those. All right, books geared to beginners. So Beginner's Guide to Rock Climbing, Beginner's Guide to Ping Pong, whatever it is, if it's got Beginner's Guide, it's probably worthless. Beginners don't pay a whole lot for stuff. Beginners aren't going to pay $50 for a book. You know, they're going to go get a cheap book on whatever the topic is just to see if it's something they really want to do. Another example would be XYZ for novices. Anything like that, it's going to be worthless. The exception is a few of the dummies books. And when I say dummies books, you know what I mean, the big yellow books. Some of those that are on more obscure subjects can be worth some money. So I'll generally, any dummies book that I find laying around, that I can buy for $1 or less, I'll look it up because sometimes they could potentially be worth some money. Anything that has a title with like 101 or 1001 or 99, like for example, 101 ways to fall off a bicycle, whatever. 1001 tips for pet owners. 99 best restaurants in Denver. Things like that, they don't sell. They're almost 100% of the time, they're worthless. All right, so with this list, you can eliminate a lot. With this right here, eliminating fiction out of what you're looking for, you're probably eliminating 75% of every book you look at in a thrift store or wherever. All right, so eliminate these from what you're looking at and concentrate on the ones I gave you before, the ones up here. And when I talk about, you might have seen me mention this before, your BOB scanner. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Your BOB scanner is your big old brain. It's that scanner that sits on your shoulders, and you can use it to filter out all this junk. And that's the best scanner that you have, because all the other scanners, you know, it takes a while for them to look stuff up. If you eliminate 90% of the stuff before you even scan it, then you're way ahead. Okay, does that make sense? All right, now let's get into sourcing and the different places I source, and I'm just going to give you a few tips on each one of these. Thrift stores. This is probably, it's not probably, it is definitely, when I'm local sourcing, this is my biggest source, is thrift stores. If you have an iPhone or really any smartphone, you probably have, or probably can get access to Yelp. There's an app called Yelp, and you've probably heard of Yelp a million times. It's just it's a review site for, most people think of it as a review site for restaurants, but they also have lots of other things on there, especially retail stores. So in your area, if you have the Yelp app, if you don't, just go to their website. I think you can look up stuff on the website as well. I've never really used the website because I always use the app. Yeah, here we go. So right here, okay, so I just type in the word thrift, and there's several different options here. So I would look at each one of these. So I would look at thrift stores, see what's local to me. All right, so we can see right here, we got Value Village, we got Assistance League, we got Goodwill. In fact, I've never gone to this one here. That's a brand new one to me. Ah, interesting. All right, so we got all the Goodwills here. Habitat for Humanity. Okay, this one can be a really good one. This Habitat for Humanity Restore. Most people think that this is just for buying things that you would use to build a house. And it's got a lot of that. It's got a lot of appliances too. But the one in my area has a bookstore, an actual bookstore inside the Habitat for Humanities. And there's some really good buys in there. Or I found that there's some really good buys in there. A local thrift store chain in my area is Value Village. I find lots of stuff here. I find more textbooks at Value Village than anywhere else. And I hope there's no one here that lives in Charlotte, because I'm giving you all my sources. So if you live in Charlotte, please exit this workshop right now. I'm just kidding. No, because there's plenty of room for competition. Bargain Hunters Thrift Store. I've never been to that one. There's another Value Village. Goodwill. There's tons of Goodwills around here. And what's interesting is Goodwills, they each kind of have a different personality. Some of them have a really good selection of books all the time, and some of them, you might find one book every 2 months. So you just kind of get to know your sources. And there's also some that don't show up in Yelp. All right, so what I generally will also do is I'll go to Google and type in thrift store. In Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'll look through here and see if there's any other ones that didn't show up in the Yelp app, because sometimes you'll find some here. And then you'll find also articles on things. Like here's an article, 50 plus Charlotte area thrift consignment use. All right, so that's a great article to read because it's got 50 of them listed. It's probably a lot of crossover, but there may be some in here that you've never heard of. I actually was doing this just a couple of weeks ago, and I found a thrift store that it's what's it called? Not PETA, but I want to say Habitat for Humanity, but that's not it. It's anyway, it's for pets, and I found a thrift store that I had never heard of before that has been open for years in this area, and it wasn't listed in Yelp, and all the proceeds go to helping the shelter, the animal shelter. All right, so those are just a couple of other ways to find thrift stores. You'll be surprised how many you probably have around you that have books. Okay, back to my mind map. Libraries. Okay, a lot of libraries have books for sale all the time. You know, you think about libraries having library sales, but many times a library will just have a continuous library sale. And so go into your local libraries and just ask them, do you have books for sale? I found some really good books at local libraries. With local libraries, they don't get replenished very quickly, but you know, hit them one time and see what they've got, and then you know, hit them again like 2 months later. And usually, libraries, the price of the books is cheap, 25 cents. That's generally what I pay for a book I get from a library. And they're usually in great condition too. It's not like they're books that have been in the library and they've been checked out a million times. Most of the time, they're either books that haven't been checked out a lot anyway, or they're books that have been donated to the library to resell. Used bookstores. You would not think about, or most people wouldn't think, that you could find good resellable books in a used bookstore. But you absolutely can. I've got some of my highest dollar books in the used bookstore. And one of the best things about used bookstore is that everything is categorized for the most part. Now, they do have a discount rack. Usually, just about every used bookstore you ever go to has a discount rack. And usually those books in the discount rack aren't categorized in any way, but you can go through those pretty quickly. I've gotten some good deals from that too. Usually that's about, you know, you pay 50 cents or $1 for a book from the discount rack. But otherwise, you can go in the used book and everything's categorized. So all the different categories that I gave you before, just go to those categories and look for books in those categories. There's a used bookstore close to me, and they've got a category for women's issues. I always go there because I find good books in the women's issues, like feminism, things like that. Books on photography. I can't remember if I listed that in my, let me go back and add that. So I just remembered that one. So any book of photography by a specific photographer. Sometimes a book about photography can be worth something. Generally, the ones that are worth money are the ones that are on a specific thing about photography. For instance, wedding photography. I bought and sold a book on wedding photography. That was really good seller. But also anything on a specific photographer people are really into different photographers, and those can sell for a lot of money. So those, when I go to a used bookstore, I always go to the shelf that has, usually it'll say arts, and photography will be in the arts, and I look to see what books there are by specific photographers, and then I research those. Anything, usually they'll have a special section on metaphysics, ghost stories, things like that. I go there and I look for stuff on UFOs. Any UFO book is worth looking up. Anything that has anything about conspiracies, definitely worth looking up. The JFK assassination, things like that. I've sold quite a few JFK assassination books. And if you go back into the categories, that would sort of fit under the historical history category. Estate sales. The thing about estate sales is they're usually listed online, and you can they'll have photographs of the items before you go to the estate sale. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly look in the photographs, and I'll see if I see that the person or the house that the people are selling. An estate sale, in case you don't know what an estate sale is, let me back up. An estate sale is normally when the owners of the house they've either died, or maybe they're moving into a nursing home. Usually it's their descendants who are selling everything, and the descendants don't know a whole lot about the merchandise. They'll usually hire a company. The company will come in, and they'll look up stuff online. They'll look to see on eBay if something sells, or how much it sells for. So they tend to be very good at pricing things like furniture and place, like silverware and place settings and antiques and figurines and things like that. They're really good at. They're not real good at pricing books. They have no clue on the books. But one of the things that I look for when I'm looking through, in fact, a lot of times they won't even mention the books in their listings. But I'll look to see if the person who owned the items, if it looked like they were a collector of something. Like, for instance, once I went to this estate sale because I could tell by the pictures that the owner was a train collector. They were selling lots of train, the model train tracks and the engines and all that. And I have no desire for any of that stuff. And I know there's experts that know what that stuff's worth. And the people putting on the estate sale, they had that stuff at a pretty high price because they probably researched it. But what they didn't do is they didn't look up the price of the books that this guy had in relation to his train collecting hobby. So I got a ton of books and even magazines, even some train collector magazines that I ended up selling for quite a bit. So look for stuff like that. Look for stuff that sort of, what is this person into? Another time I found books that were on genealogy. So that one is another one. I probably should add that one to the list. That sort of fits in with leisure and hobby, but it's really specific. So yeah, anything on genealogy, definitely look up. But for estate sales, there's a website. There's also, I think there's an app, but I don't have the app. But for the website, let me find it real quick. Yeah, this is it right here. It's just estatesales.net. I just look it up on Google. Just look up estate sales, and then it'll show it in your area. And then you can see all the different estate sales that are coming in your area. This one also lists auctions, which that's a whole different thing there, auctions. But they're kind of time consuming. All right, so let's look at this one here. Oh, it's going on right now. All right, and usually, yeah, here's the images. All right, and for some reason the images are loading really slowly. There they come. All right, so here, and you kind of see what this, what this person or these people who live in this house, you can sort of get a little bit of a feel for what they're into. All right, so I don't see anything there that I would be interested in. Doesn't really tell me, that they're a collector of anything. But anyway, that's how you do that. Library sales. Library sales are different from number 2 in that the library sale is a mega event, and they are usually a several-day event where there will be just tons and tons of books for sale. And there is a website you can go to that will tell you if there's any in your area or nearby. Yeah, Book Sale Finder. This is a great site here. So you can come here and just pick your state, click on your state, and then it will tell you every book sale, not just library sale, but every book sale going on in your area. And these are big, generally big events. And there's lots of competition here, though. There's a lot. It draws a lot of booksellers, so you really have to know your stuff, and you really need to take advantage of your BOB, your big old brain, so you don't scan every single thing. Finally, Craigslist. So Craigslist, you can find books on just in your area. There's Craigslist for every major city. If you just type it into Google, it'll bring it up right here. And actually, there's a listing here that shows all the different sites. So in the U.S., you can see every state, every Craigslist city is listed. So say in North Carolina, right here, Charlotte was where I'm at. So I could go here and just look for books. Just to kind of see what comes up, to see if there's anything that looks interesting. I like to look at have the image or have it set to where it's showing me the gallery image, so I can kind of just see at a glance what they got for sale. All right, see if there's anything that fits into my criteria. Look at this. There's the Civil War set I was telling you about. 1983 Time Life Civil War books. All right, so they're wanting, looks like they're wanting $100. That's too much, but what people list on Craigslist and what they'll actually take are two different things. 26 volumes, so I'm pretty sure that was every single volume. So this one right here, I'd offer them $50, and I would resell this for $200. And condition, it says excellent condition. All right, and also you can also find textbooks on Craigslist as well. Okay, and again, some of these, they might list them at really high prices, but you can always negotiate. And, you know, they have no idea what they're really worth most of the time. I mean, look at this. Hundreds of 1950 to 2016 books from an old couple who passed away. And they're wanting $400 for everything. So a lot of times you can kind of look in here, and if you can zoom in enough, you can see what some of the books are, and just kind of run them through Amazon to see if there's any in here that look like they're worth anything. but I would not ever advise anyone, and here's a little closer pictures here. I would not ever advise anyone to take a lot of books like this, and a lot means just, you know, books all in one, and pay $400. This is going to be a lot of work. The Photographer's Handbook, I would look that one up. One on Vietnam War. But if I saw any in here that looked good, then I would just offer to buy those. Okay, so anyway, that's Craigslist. I'm going to close that down. It's fun to look through there, see what you can find. Okay, I've got a thing here for sourcing example. I wanted to show you a trip I took to a thrift store recently. It was last week, actually. I wanted to show you sort of what it looked like, the book section, okay? So right here, you should see an image coming up. And I tried to take a picture where I could get all of the bookcases into the picture. There's actually one more set that's to my left that I couldn't get in. But you can see here there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then right here is a magazine rack. They're selling magazines too. And then there's 2 more here. And then there was a little space here, and there's 1 more here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, actually 8 bookshelves. And each bookshelf has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves. So 8 times 5 is 40. And each one of these has probably 20 books. So 20 times 40 is 1,600. So that's a grand total of 1,600 books to go through. It took me about 40 minutes to make a decision on every single book in here. Let me show you. Little close-ups here. So you can see in here, you can kind of tell that there's a lot of this it's not, even though it's not fiction, it's stuff that I'm not really interested in. Like, here is one. Let me zoom in on this. All right, you see this? Cleaning Magic. The Queen of Clean. Queen of Clean, another clean. That's not worth it. These aren't worth anything. I mean, these are just, you know, books you can pick up for almost nothing, brand new. So don't even look at those. Most of the books here, didn't even look at. The one that struck out to me that I even scanned was right here. Looks like a textbook, right? So definitely scan that one. This one right here, it's called Rites of Passage. It's basically a business book. So I looked at that one. Pretty much everything else just looked like a fiction book. You see Clive Cussler here, J.D. Robb, either that or just something that does not fit into one of my categories. All right, and down here, I think I've got another picture of the bottom shelf. Yeah, I do. All right, so down here you see a lot of Justin Bieber. You know, again, that fits into that celebrity expert type thing. It's worthless. And then everything else on here, I think every single one of these books is a fiction book. If you just kind of scan, you can see everything is a fiction except maybe this one. I don't remember this one, but I would have looked at this one. Everything else looks like fiction. The Ultimate Safe Money Guide. That one, I know enough to know. I've seen that book so many times that I know not to look at it because I know it's not worth anything. But that's one that you would look at, though, just because you've never seen it before. And it kind of fits into one of the categories, you know, sort of a business type book. But after you've seen this 3 or 4 times, you're going to know that it's not worth anything. Patrick Swayze, again, celebrity stuff, not worth anything. Things, diet books, generally not worth anything. Only time a diet book is worth anything is when it's a brand new diet, something that's just come out, and there's a brand new book about it. Then it might be worth looking at. All right, let's look at the next image right here. Okay, looks like that's that same screen, so I probably had the same picture in there twice. All right, here's another shelf. Some political stuff, so Colin Powell, not worth anything. Look at this. Colin Powell, there's Sean Hannity. That's another one I told you to avoid. Nothing here that really makes me excited. Down here, mostly fiction. This book right here, I can't really tell what it is, but I would look at that one just because it looks like it might be on some type of hobby or something. Other than that, I don't see any other ones in here I would look at. This one, that's that same shelf with that Colin Powell book right there. But then this one right here, Kilo, that was some type of video game book. So I looked at that one. Most of the rest of these are fiction. And you kind of get the feel for what a fiction book looks like. You know, they sort of all have the same look after you've seen them for a million times. All right, and I think all these are fiction. So I just completely eliminated looking at any of these. And right here, and then right here is sort of the jackpot. These two shelves right here had almost, I would say 90% of everything I looked at was on these two shelves. And textbooks, see the textbooks here? So I pulled all of these out, scanned every single one of these. And then there was another textbook here, and another shelf somewhere. I don't have a picture of it, I don't think. No, it's back to the beginning. So you see that all the value in this one is pretty much grouped in one area. You're not always going to see that, but generally with thrift stores, they generally do kind of put the fiction in one area. You know, I always kind of scan through it just to see if there's another book in there that would be good, but I do it very quickly and sort of hone in on the sweet spots. And once you start going to a thrift store and looking, then you'll start to get a feel for how they're putting the books on the shelf. Okay, I'm going to close this down. Let's go to the next topic. Okay, so now, wow, we're already over an hour, and I haven't even covered scanners yet. Okay, so there are several scanners out there. I'm going to show you what I use, and then I'm going to show you a free one that is almost as good. The one I use is called Profit Bandit. Profit Bandit, and there's a link to it right here. It's $10 per month. All right, so you got to pay for it per month, but if you use it, then it will more than pay for itself over and over and over again. The pros are that the search itself, the FBA search, is fast, and it's cheap. I mean, I consider $10 a month cheap. The disadvantage is it has no downloadable database. So what that means is that if you don't have Wi-Fi access, or you're in an area where you're not getting cell phone coverage, then you might have a hard time looking up a book. That's going to happen sometimes. The other disadvantage is that it only scans barcodes. It doesn't scan the book cover, which is usually fine. I mean, most books are going to have a barcode, and if they don't, you can also just type in the ISBN number, or you can type in a search like the author name and the book title, or any combination of that. So you can do that, but I'll show you one here in a minute where you can actually take a picture of the cover, and it will look the book up for you. It's pretty cool. All right, so here are the screenshots of Profit Bandit. And these are not just screenshots. I'm going to show you how to use it. So you can, if you want to use this app, you can refer back to this in the replay, and you can see how I use Profit Bandit. All right, so first off, you scan it, the barcode on any book, just like that. You just scan the barcode, and then it pulls up the book like this. This is what you're going to see. Let me close this. This is what you're going to see first, this screen right here. There is a lot on this screen. The good news is most of it you can ignore. The bad news is some of it is not accurate. Okay, so you kind of want to ignore it anyway, but just realize that some of this may not be accurate, but we can double check the numbers. Okay, so this is what let me take you through this example here. Trying to increase the size of this, but I can't do it. Oh, maybe I can. Here we go. All right. So this book, and this is one of the ones that we'll be listing, or I'll be listing on Friday when I show you in the listing section. It's a textbook. It's called Wonders of Life: Exploring the Most Extraordinary Phenomena in the whatever. I bought this book at a thrift store, and I paid like $1 for it. Now, I hadn't noticed this before, but I just noticed this. You see this right here? Trade in, $1.65. So I talked about the trade-in program, I think, in the last class. But right here, this tells you how much Amazon will give you as a trade-in for this book. So they'll give you $1.65. I think that's a pittance. You can make a lot more than that for this book, especially since textbook season is coming up. But if there is a trade-in value, this app will tell you what it is, which is a cool feature to have. All right. Right here, let me start off to the far right. It has the collectible, and usually you'll not see anything there. And then it has 25 used here, so it has, ever how many it has, it might have 100. But in this case, it's got 25. It's got 26 new here, so it's got the prices for each one of those. And then it's got what it's saying is 2 FBA. This is one of the cases where it might not be accurate. There may be more FBA listings actually out there. This software communicates with Amazon to get all these numbers. Sometimes Amazon lies to it. They will not tell you that it's a lie, but that's basically what it is. Sometimes Amazon doesn't give them all the information. Luckily, there's a way that you can get the information, and it's really easy. All you have to do is click on All FBA. There's a button right here that says All FBA. When you do that, you're going to get, well, oh, it's right here, sorry. Yeah, when you do that, All FBA is going to show you an image like this, a screen like this. And then you can confirm how many FBA books there are. In this case, it's accurate. There's only 2, which is great because I bought this book for $1. So, and then the lowest price is $19.49. Way to go. That's a win, right? But sometimes Amazon lies to the software, and there might be more FBAs that are hidden that you can't see unless you click All FBA. And then you'll see them here. And sometimes it'll have the lowest one here, $19.49, and you look over here and the lowest one is $4.49. That's kind of a bummer, but you know not to buy that book. Okay, so it's very, very important. If you're using this app, you click on that All FBA button just to make sure, confirm how many FBA offers they are and what the lowest price is. Okay, I can't tell you how many times that's screwed people up by not taking that extra step and just confirming the FBAs. Okay. The next thing I really like about this software is this button right here. CCC stands for camel, camel, camel. If you click this button, it automatically looks up that product in camel, camel, camel. So right here, and there's our chart. This is kind of a small picture too, but you can, inside of your app, you can enlarge this, and you've got all the other controls. So right here is our ranking chart. So we see that this book has got good ranking all year round, so definitely one that I would buy. Our qualifications, remember, are any book 500,000 or less. And if you drill down in here, you can see that this book actually right here, ranking is right here, 343,000. So that's a good rank, a well-ranked book. But right here on Camel, you can see the history of the ranking, okay? So you basically have the full functionality of Camel within this app. All right. There's other things here that you can look at. That's generally how I use this app. The profit calculation here, again, it might not be accurate, especially if they're not showing you all the FBA listings. So I take this with a grain of salt. Okay. I calculate my own profit, you know, if it's going to be worth it for me to buy or not. There's several other things here. Right here is a list. It's a buy list. And the way that works is you can click on it. You can add the current item to your buy list. I don't use this because if an item is something I'm going to buy it right then. I'm not going to create a list and then come back later. I'm going to get it right then. So that's something I just don't use. The next one, this one right here, they're advertising a plugin that you don't need. It's a plugin that works with the software, but there's no use for it that I can tell. All right, this right here, it looks like a little clock. That's the history. So this is kind of helpful because you can go back and something you looked up in the past, you can click on it and it will bring it back up into this screen. Kind of handy to have sometimes if you want to go back and look at something that you've scanned in the past. And then finally, this right here is the settings, and right here are my settings. So there's two screens of them. So if you want to see what mine is set at, it's right here. Okay, so that's Profit Bandit. That's the one I use. I don't get a affiliate commission or anything from it. So I have nothing to gain by recommending it. I just think it's a great app. All right, the next one we're going to look at is the Amazon app. And what I did was I used the same screenshots. I looked the same book up so you can see the differences from that exact book. But with the Amazon app, number one, it's free. It's available in the iPhone or Android store. And just search for Price Check by Amazon. Just search for Price Check by Amazon in the App Store and it will bring it up. I've actually got a screenshot of what it looks like in the App Store. I thought I did. Well, yeah, right here it is. Okay, let's concentrate on this image right here. It looks like this. And you'll see the Amazon, the smiley thing there, and then the cart. That's the one you want. Because if you search for Price App by Amazon, this might not be the first one that comes up, but it's going to be the second or third one. So just make sure it's this one right here. And it's absolutely free. Okay, so that's the app. One of the great features about this is that it will look up by the book cover. So you just click on this little search button there, and instead of putting it next to instead of looking up the barcode, you just put the book cover right up to it. Just put the cover on the book itself, and it will scan that book. And it takes just, usually like a second, and we'll look that book up just by the cover itself. It's a really cool feature, especially if you're looking up books that don't have barcodes. Or sometimes you might be looking up a book and for some reason the barcode is obscured by something else. Then just look up the cover and it will bring it up the same way. The biggest drawback to this app is there's multiple steps and clicks to look up a book, to look up all the information you need. So let me give you an example. This is the exact same book that I looked up with Profit Bandit. So this is what it looks like when you look it up. So it doesn't give you a lot of information on the first page, but if you scroll down, so the next screen down looks like this, and here you get a little more information. This tells you the trade-in value right here, $1.65, and it tells you how many used and new books there are, all right? And then if you click there under where the arrow is, then it will take you to this page, all right? And here you can click on filters. So click on filter and then click on prime, and finally it will then show you the FBA offers, okay? So they're really, really hidden, but if you just drill through each screen, it will tell you how many FBA offers there are. So here there are 2, which is the exact same that we found in Profit Bandit, okay, and the same prices and everything. So exactly the same, just using this app instead of Profit Bandit. Now, for bestseller rank, scroll down. So this is the main screen, and you scroll down to the next page, and then you scroll down to the next page, and you'll come to an area that looks like this. You click on this arrow right here, and that will open up another screen which will tell you the bestseller rank, which is right here, 343,659, which is the exact same thing we found in Profit Bandit. Okay, so again, this is a free app. You just have to spend a few more seconds clicking around to find the information that you need to make a decision on whether or not that book is good to buy. Okay? The next one, and I have tried this out. I have uninstalled it now because honestly, it's 40 bucks a month, and I just didn't see that it was worth paying 40 bucks a month when I'm using Profit Bandit, which is 10 bucks a month. It's called FBA Scan, and there's a link to it right here. It's $40 a month. The pros are that it has a downloadable database. All right, that's probably the biggest pro, is that you can download the entire database of books, and then when you go to an area that doesn't have good Wi-Fi, it looks the book up on your phone instead of having to connect to Wi-Fi. Now, when you do that, you're going to need to download the database at least every couple of days just to make sure it's updated. But it only takes about half an hour, 20 minutes, maybe 20 minutes to download. All right, so if you know you're going outsourcing, you can download it ahead of time, and then you have a database on your phone, and you don't need Wi-Fi, and it works pretty well. The other great feature of this is something that's called hidden mode. I'm not going to go into a lot about this, but I'll tell you what it's used for. Hidden mode, take a look at, okay, this is not hidden, the first one, and then the second one here is hidden. So take a look at the difference. This is the exact same book. The book is called the American Jumping Style Equestrian Book. You can see here, you see the prices here for this book, and in the other screenshot where it is hidden, notice that the prices are hidden. You can't see the prices. Now, I want you to type in the chat and tell me, do you know what this is good for? Why would someone want to use that, the hidden feature, to hide the prices? Notice it tells you that this is a buy, and this one says it's a buy. Anyone know? Nope. All right, I'm going to tell you. The reason why is because you could hire someone to source for you, and you give them this app, put it on their phone, set it to hidden mode, and then they're not going to see the prices. All they know is this is a buy, and the other option is it'll say either buy or reject, and reject will be in red instead of green. So they're going to see buy or they're going to see reject. They don't see the prices. If you've got someone working for you who's sourcing for you, and they scan this book and they see this book is selling for $51 or $152.49. I actually listed this book for $99 when I sold mine. because there were no FBA offers. So it's actually worth more than this. But if you have someone sourcing for you and they come across a book like this, they might think twice about giving that book to you. They think, well, I paid $1 for this book. I'm just going to keep it myself. I'm not going to tell him about it. So to avoid that, you use hidden mode on this app, and they don't see the prices. All they know, this is a buy or not. Okay, so we're going to cover that in another advanced class on how to find people to source for you. Okay, that'll be coming along in a class later on. It's more of an advanced class, but I think you'll get a lot out of that. All right, so that's the hidden mode. Now let's look at the cons on this. Is that disadvantages? I find it to be slower when you're trying to verify the FBA books, and the monthly cost. $40 is kind of expensive for something like that, especially when Profit Bandit pretty much does everything. This one here, this is the one I would use if I were hiring someone to do the sourcing for me, just because of that hidden feature. Okay, now let me talk about what I call extra money finds. So as you're outsourcing and you're looking for books, there are other things that you can look for too that will only take you a couple of minutes just to kind of look to see where you're at, if you have any of those. And those are, this is not all encompassing, but this is kind of what I look for, the things that I normally look for when I'm out sourcing at, say, a thrift store, or even at an estate sale. So first off, I look for Starbucks mugs. And these are the city mugs that look like this. You've probably seen these before. Just about every major city has Starbucks mug. These things will sell for a lot of money. I'm talking like this mug here will sell for probably about $80. The highest I've ever sold one for was $49.99, but I paid 25 cents for it. And you can sell them either new or used. If they're used, just make sure that they're in good condition, no chips or cracks or anything. But these are great to find. I've found quite a few of these. All right. Next thing is new board games. These things sell really good. A lot of them sell really good. I'm talking about things like board games like Clue and Seen It and Cranium, especially. If you run across a brand new Cranium, yeah, it'll sell for a lot. So I find board games a lot of times pay $1 to $3 for them, brand new. All right, and I've got this in capital letters. You want them to be brand new only. And when I say brand new, I mean brand new in shrink wrap. Because the worst thing in the world would be for you to sell a board game and it's missing, when the person gets it, it's missing a piece. They're going to give you bad feedback. Another thing, new jigsaw puzzles. This is another big seller. And as you're out and looking for books, look for new jigsaw puzzles and new board games. Brand new only. Again, how would you feel if you just bought a brand new jigsaw puzzle with 1,001 pieces, and you get to the end of it and there's a missing piece? You're going to probably leave bad feedback. So always make sure brand new and in shrink wrap only. New toys, again, brand new only. They have to be in the original packaging, never opened. Shrink wrap if they were originally in shrink wrap. Kitchen gadgets. I haven't sold as many of these, but stuff that's got to be brand new. Got to be brand new. Printer cartridges. I've run across quite a few of these, but you got to make sure, again, they've got to be brand new. You can't sell used printer cartridges, and you also have to check to make sure that they are not expired. You'll probably find a lot out there that are expired. You can't sell those. They've got to be, and in fact, they need to be within 6 months, or not within, but over 6 months from expiration date. All right, so today it's December, so January, February, March, April, May, June. So if you found one that had an expiration date of June 2017, then you can't sell it. If you found it with July of 2017, as long as you send it in immediately, then you can sell it. Okay, and they will sell for retail prices. I have bought these things for as little as 50 cents each and turned around and sold them for like $35, $40. They will sell, and they sell quick. Very, very good sellers. I found about 15 or 20 of them at a store that was closing down, and they discounted them all for like, I think, $2 each. I bought every single one they had and sold them within like 2 weeks. Had them turned around and selling on Amazon and sold out within 2 weeks. All right. That was a lot to go over. I know I've been talking for an hour and a half now, but I wanted to, and you can go back and rewatch this over and over again. This literally is like a crash course in local book sourcing. So let me take your questions now. Quite a few questions here in the chat box. So I'll go ahead and take questions for about another, let's say, 15 minutes. All right, this person, Clarence, has left, but I'm going to go ahead and answer his question. He wanted to know, where did I source the Doctor Strange graphic novel from? I got it from a local thrift store, a Goodwill store. In fact, they had, I don't know, probably 20 or 25 different graphic novels setting in a little area there, a little shelf next to the cash register. And I ended up buying 10 or 12 of those different ones. Not all of them were Doctor Strange. There are actually 2 different Doctor Strange graphic novels. There was a couple on the Avengers, maybe 1 or 2 X-Men. But anyway, there was 10 or 12 that I ended up buying, and they had them priced. The lowest priced one was $2.99, and I think the highest priced one was like $6. So I got most of those, and they've been selling really well. The Doctor Strange sold for $99. How often do these places get new books? It really depends on the source. Some, even like Goodwills. There's lots of Goodwills around, and some of them, I think there's 10 in this area. Some of them, I can go back every single week and find new stuff, new books. And then other ones, I'll come back 3 months later, and they pretty much have the same books as they had before. So you just have to go and just kind of gauge by going and checking them out yourself. Do you list books over Amazon new price when you think their price will go up? No, not generally. Generally, the Amazon new price is the cap price. That's the ceiling. You're not going to generally go above that. Say that again about how much you pay for library books. 25 cents. The libraries around here, they sell their used books at the library sale for 25 cents. And that's the library sale that's going on all the time. Library has books for sale all the time. At what point does it make sense to buy books that are lower in ranking? Okay, Bill, I think when you mean lower in ranking, you mean actually a higher bestseller rank. All right? I think that's what you mean. You really mean that they've got a bestseller rank that's over 500,000. Let me just rephrase it that way. I will buy, that's a really good question. And it's more of an advanced thing. But if I look up a book and it's it's a good book otherwise. The only thing that I don't like about it is the ranking on it is 2.5 million. Okay, so it's a book that's not going to sell very often. All right, it might sell once every 6 months. But number one, I can sell it for a lot. It looks like there are no other. Maybe there's one listed and it's listed at $99. So I know I can sell it for $98 anyway. And number two, if there are no other FBA offers, that's a big thing. So the book has a high ranking of 2.5 million or even sometimes 3 million, but someone is trying to sell one for $99 and they're selling it fulfilled by merchant, but there's no FBA offers, then I'll take a chance on that book if I can get it really cheap. And by really cheap, I mean like a couple of bucks. I might go up as much as $5 depending on what I think I can potentially get for that book. But I know that I'm going to have to wait for that book to sell because it's not going to sell immediately. I'm going to have to wait for a buyer who specifically wants that book to come along to buy that book. Okay? That way, then it's worth the risk. It's worth that $1 or $2 to go ahead and get it. How do you determine whether to buy a book at a library? Look it up on site. How do you price it? Yeah, the same exact way. Look it up on site. And as far as pricing it, the same way, just what I've been teaching all along. What about the discount tables at Barnes & Noble? Honestly, I haven't looked at those. Depends on, well, do it. Look at them. I don't go into Barnes & Noble that often, but I tell you, I will never pass by a discount table. So if I see a discount table, I'm going to start looking. So just look at the same types of books that I talked about today. One thing I don't see, what about yard sales? Yeah, you know what? I didn't list yard sales right now because there's just none this time of year where I live. But yeah, I found some good stuff at yard sales. Yard sales are a really good place to find textbooks. People having yard sales, they're not concerned about getting the highest dollar for their products or their items. And a lot of times they'll just they'll just have textbooks in a box, and they're letting them go for $1 each or 50 cents each. So I found some really good ones that way. And if you go to a yard sale and you don't see any textbooks, ask them if they have any books. Don't ask them if they have any textbooks. Ask them if they have any books. And then look at all the books. Is 1/2 price books a good source, or are they too high priced? Generally, I'd say they're too high priced. But honestly, I've never really looked at them. But so give them a look and see. Just look to see, and spend an hour in one, and just see if you find anything. Would Profit Bandit work in Canada? I believe it has an option for different marketplaces. I don't know right now, but I can find out later. And Edie and Frank, on the 1/2 book thing, what I mean is spend an hour just going through and seeing if you can find anything. And then if you do, then you know that is a potential new source that you can start looking at regularly. I know we have a place in Charlotte. It's called Books A Million. And I went to one of those about 2 months ago and spent probably 45 minutes or an hour in Books A Million, and I didn't find anything. Nothing. The books were all either, they were just priced too high to make any profit from. Even the ones on the discount rack, just nothing that was any good. So I'm never going to go back to Books A Million. Do you need to have a pro account for Profit Bandit? Johnny, I'm not sure about that. I'll have to check on that to see, because I do have a pro account, and I've had a pro account for many years, and so I don't know what it's like to have the individual account. So I'll have to see with that. Sorry, I'm just going through the questions to see what we have. International Seller Training Webinar. Has training been scheduled for sellers in other countries yet? No, that'll be, it's not a training session. I'm going to just record a video and give you all the details about what you need to do. And I'll have that for you before our class on Friday, okay? So we got a class this coming Friday, so I should have that video to you either tomorrow or sometime during the day on Friday. But it'll definitely be, you'll have it before the class Friday. Calvin, that's the same thing. Textbook arbitrage for international. Same answer. Okay, so what about local sourcing if I live somewhere besides the United States? It really depends on if you have a Amazon marketplace in your country, like Canada does, the UK does. Other areas in Europe do have marketplaces. So what you need to do is start looking for books. Don't buy anything. Don't actually buy anything now. Just look for them. Write down the ISBN numbers or take a picture of the book cover or book ISBN, and then take them back, or take your research back to your computer, and then look in your marketplace and see if you could sell those books and make a profit in your marketplace. Okay? That's the only way you're going to know for sure. If we're going to source 30 to 40 books a week, it's mainly going to have to come from local sourcing, right? Not necessarily. It depends on how much you want to spend for, or how much time and money you want to spend doing arbitrage method. You could do both. Do you need a pro account for Profit Bandit? Okay, again, I'll have to find out the answer to that. Are some days better than others in thrift stores? I've found, especially in the spring and summer, that Mondays are really good days because lots of people are having yard sales, or they're cleaning out their attics over the weekend, and they take their stuff that they don't sell or they don't want to Goodwill or the thrift store. And so that generally gets put out onto the floor on a Monday. So that's the only day of the week I've found, or the only situation where a certain day is good. Otherwise, just kind of find out when they're putting their stuff out on the floor. You know, when do they restock? Oh, good question. Wayne says, should books we send to FBA be placed in polybags? No, absolutely not. The only exception to that, and there are always exceptions, comic book graphic novels, I will put in a polybag just because I know how particular comic book people can be. The only other exception to that would be if you're selling a collectible book, and that's a whole different thing. So any, just regular, ordinary book, you don't need to put it in the poly bag. And I'll go over that tomorrow or Friday when I do the listing class. I'll show you how I pack my books. Okay, if we're going to source 30 to 40 books a week, it's mainly going to have to come from, oh, I just answered that question. Jeff said, great class tonight. Thank you, Jeff. Going to do some sourcing this weekend. Already found some winners on Craigslist. Yeah, great. You know, it's a lot of fun. I find it to be almost therapeutic to do book sourcing locally because, you know, it's just, to me, it's just fun. And then when you find one that's worth some money, it's like, yay, very exciting. It's almost like treasure hunting. Okay, so Johnny said that his Profit Bandit, he was trying to use it, and he said that it's telling him he needs to upgrade in order to use Profit Bandit. So I'll find out for sure on that, get back to you. If that's the case, it's no big deal. Just use the Amazon app. Have you used eFlip software? No, I haven't. I've never heard of eFlip, but I'll check it out. Say it's $79 a month. Wow. I hope it's a really good one. Let me put it down here on my list for that price. How much time do you spend in thrift stores or sourcing in other places? All day? No, I don't do it all day. A general thrift store that I would go to, I spend, it really depends on what I'm finding. If I go in and in the first 10 minutes I haven't found a single book, then I'll just leave, because generally that means that they don't have anything new since the last time I was there, or someone else has picked over it. If I start to find good stuff, I'll start digging deeper, and I'll start looking closer, and then I'll spend a lot more time. So, but I would say in that case, even then, no more than an hour in one thrift store. All right. Yeah, I've got the eFlip up on my screen, if that's it. eFlip.co. Okay, so this isn't the right thing. Online arbitrage software gear for FBA sellers. Okay, definitely we'll check that out. And let you know what I think about it. Okay, I actually have a class scheduled for reviewing other things, and so I'll put that into that class. Any advice on where to find free or next to free shipping materials to pack and send to Amazon, like boxes, etc.? Yeah, well, boxes, you can find boxes in any retail store. Look in the dumpsters. I mean, really kind of dumpster diving, looking for boxes. But another really good source for packing material is using plastic shopping bags. So you probably get tons of those that you throw away. Just keep, don't throw those away. Just keep a stockpile of those. And you can also, if you go to the grocery store, and just ask them if they have any recyclable or recycled old plastic bags, if you can have them, they'll probably just give them to you. And then I just use other stuff that I get, like if I get a package in the mail, it's got bubble wrap, I save that. One thing that you should never, ever use is popcorn, the packing popcorn stuff. Amazon hates that stuff, and they'll get on to you for that, so don't ever use that. Can you possibly have a webinar, more deep details for overseas sellers? Yeah, I'm going to do that, Demi. It's not going to be a webinar. It's going to be a video. It's going to show you exactly what to do. Okay. Oh, very good question. JC wants to know, when selling mugs and board games and printer cartridges, are they in categories that need to be ungated? Let me explain what ungated means. Ungated means that you have to have special permission from Amazon to sell in that category. So like in our books category, anyone can sell in that category. Well, all the things that I've recommended here are in ungated categories. So you can sell, anybody can sell these with your Amazon account. You don't have to get special permission or anything. So that's one of the reasons why I've got these specific items here. And I will I'll add to this list as we go as I think of more things. Okay. Steve, I got that E-flip. I'll definitely check that out. Okay, so let me ask you a question then. You go through this class now. I know it's been kind of long, and I'm sure you'll want to go through it several more times in the replay. But is this something that you think that you're going to end up doing, the local sourcing? All right, great. Got quite a few people say they are. A couple of people say they're not. Some people say love the yard sale. Yeah. If you like yard selling, then you'll love doing this. Mario says, I live in New York City, tons of used bookstores and thrift stores. Yeah, it should be good, very good hunting. Okay, great. I hope you do that, and let me know what you find. Steve, there is no cutoff date for getting books to Amazon. You know, as I've said many times, textbooks sell all year round anyway, but textbook season itself is going to go into early February. And even though you might see that Amazon is saying it's the shipping date is January, whatever, the 10th of January, you generally get stuff much quicker than that when you order from Amazon, as long as you're ordering from a U.S.-based company or U.S.-based seller. Any specific board games, jigsaw puzzles, etc. you need to look for? Look, every single one, scan it. Every single one that you find. Generally, it's the ones that you've heard of before, though. Like the ones by Mattel, the ones by what's some of the other Parker Brothers. The big name brands are the ones that tend to sell the best. Okay, so Friday I'll be doing the first we'll be doing the first listing session. So hope to see you there. If not, it'll be recorded and you can watch it in the members area. And I said the first one because we'll probably have more than one. It tends to be a very popular class, and I like doing them, so we'll do more than one. Okay, and JC mentioned that unless you're a new seller on Amazon, no, I think you mean unless you are an established seller, you can't ship to Amazon until December the 18th. Yeah, because of Christmas season, but December 18th is in 4 days. So we should be good to go. All right, great session, guys. Thanks for coming, and I'll have this in the members area within the next day or so. All right, have a great night. Goodbye.